Hi everyone, today we're just going to do a quick OET writing correction for some candidates. I'm going to be sharing with you the details of the task and their writings. My name is Olain Paremu, and this is Synergy International Network OET Study Buddy. If you are yet to enroll or register at our OET Study Buddy, do so. You can send us an email at info@synergynows.co.uk or send a WhatsApp message with the number on your screen. For candidates that are already registered, I want to continue to encourage you to continue to write your letters and send for review and for assessment. So the first letter we're going to be taking today is from one of the candidates, and I will share the screen now. So please, candidates, if you are sending in your letters, make sure you have properly scanned it and it's clear and legible enough. Make sure you're writing your letter on a ruled sheet, preferably an 80-leaf ruled sheet, and make sure you scan it legibly, including the case notes and writing tags as well. So you send both case notes and writing tags as well as your writing when you are submitting. All right, so we take this first case note. You can see this case note here. As the patient details, I'll just scroll down there. So you go to the patient details, and then this is the writing task. Using the information given in the case note, write a discharge letter to the nursing unit manager, rehabilitation center, Waterford. So this is definitely a discharge letter. And so let's go to, I just pay attention to the discharge plan here since it's a discharge letter. One management dressing. Okay, patient was admitted. Mrs. Mata Vivek, that's the date of birth, discharged from hospital to a rehabilitation center. Marital status. So we have to note all the details like that. Now, one thing that's very important for you to know is the admission date. So note this admission date. We look at this date. So this is the date that most likely will also be the date of your exam. So that's what you're going to be writing. Okay. So let me take the writing of this candidate and I will see how the candidate was able to write. Again, like I said, please make sure that you're writing legibly, and when you are taking your scan, you are scanning, very clearly. So from what I'm seeing here, this is a very dark picture that I was saying. So make a very good scan with proper lighting. Okay, this is not better. Okay, I think this is it. So make sure, again, this is very important so that they can get a good grasp of the letter that you have written. All right, so let's take a look here. So the address, nurse unit manager, since there's no name, operation center, Waterford. So I expect there will be a space in between the address and the dates. And this 150315, you can write it, leave a line between the address and the date. So we Miss Martina, this your Miss Martina looks too close. So you need to give a space in between. Date of birth 21/11/1941. Okay, or you can say 21st of November 1941, or you can just get the age and put the age there. I'm writing this letter on behalf of Ms. Vivek, who has recently been discharged to the rehabilitation center. So now let's get, first of all, again, we'll go back to get what's the purpose of this letter. So again, we know that this letter is a discharge letter. So is there any specific instruction purpose of for the discharge? So discharge plan, preparing for discharge to the rehabilitation center, start medication, family to be notified of transfer hospital. So the eighth, repeat check of hemoglobin, access for rehab therapy, removal of staples. So those are the discharge plan. So this patient is just basically being discharged from the hospital for continuous management at the rehab center. You know what rehab is? At the rehabilitation center. Okay. So quickly, I'm going to go back again to the letter. I'm writing letter. So I could say I'm writing, you can say I'm writing this letter to discharge. You're not writing on behalf. It is not on behalf of the patient. You are writing from your facility to the other facility. So you're the one discharging the patient. So there's no point saying on behalf of. So just say I'm writing regarding Miss Vivek, with a 75-year-old woman who has been discharged from our facility to, your facility. That's your rehabilitation center for continuous management. So there has to be a purpose. You can't just say you discharge somebody for what. So always have it at the back of your mind. If you say, I am referring this patient to you for what, there's always a what or why. You are discharging this patient to the rehabilitation center for what? Why? Ms. Vec is a widow recently, so that's English is not right. It says is widowed recently and she has two children. You can put her age there. Miss Vivek is a 75-year-old widow with two children. Okay, as much as possible, save your word. So that recently there might not be, important, too relevant. So now that's the first paragraph. Again, I'm going to emphasize the key elements in the first paragraph. You need to identify the patient. Here you said Mrs. Vivek. So what other way can you identify this patient? Miss Vivek is a 5-year-old widow. You can put it there, a 75-year-old widow who has been discharged, recently been discharged from our hospital to the rehabilitation center or to your rehabilitation center for continuous management and care. So that's the patient, the purpose of the letter, and of course the presenting situation. So we need to, what exactly is wrong with this woman? Why did she come to the hospital? That is missing in that introductory page, paragraph. So you just said Miss Vivek recently been discharged, but before discharge, what is the presenting circumstance around her? Maybe that necessitated the rehabilitation referral or discharge. So I want to reconstruct that there. Then leave a space here, leave a space between paragraph and continue. Now on 503, so rather than never you write your address, like your dates like this. So we're talking about date reference. So don't write your date reference like this in text in your letter. Rather, you can say on the 5th of March, 2015. Ms. Vevek was admitted on account of fracture left neck or femur after fainting from getting out of bed and fell to the chair. So you can pick out the present circumstance from here to this first paragraph. So you can say to discharge Ms. Vivek, who was admitted on account of fracture. So that's the essence of the rehabilitation, needs some mobility support or so on. So that's how to include that. So I've just given you some tips to how to include the first paragraph. So then the second paragraph, note the date reference and how you can write it. Now, was admitted on account of fracture of the left neck or femur after fainting from getting out of the bed and fall and fell to the ground. I hope this is fell and not fall. She was found by her son 2 hours later. Okay. However, a left hemiarthroplasty. Okay, trying to get that. Sorry about that. A left hemiarthroplasty that's Austin more hip replacement using a general was done. Okay, so you might want to combine this together because it's not enough for one paragraph. So, however, a left hematopathy, using a general anesthesia was done. You might want to save yourself this Austin more hip replacement. And we know that hemiatropathy is with the hip replacement. So you can just go, however, a left hip replacement using a general anesthesia was done. Now, that is the second paragraph. Third paragraph, postoperatively, she had intravenous therapy, about 3 units per cells was transfused with IV laces, 40 milligram therapy after each unit. So let's look at this construction because it looks too long. Postoperatively, remember that this your P is going to be a capital P, okay? Postoperatively, intravenous therapy of 3 units per cells was transfused with IV laces. So you can just say that she had postoperatively she was treated with intravenous therapy of 3 units per cells, which you just say she was transfused, yeah, with that, as well as IV laces 40 milligram was given after each unit. Intravenous therapy was maintained, so you don't have to repeat this. Write it together. 40 milligram therapy after each unit, which was maintained for 36 hours. Then oral fluids was encouraged. Antihypertensive drugs were administered, such as omeprazole 10 milligram initially, but was reviewed by Dr. Dixon, who now changed it to Ramipre 5 milligram daily. So you see the way I'm expanding it, okay? I'm not going to the main charts, but given what you wrote, it's sufficient enough, but you just have to note out the appropriateness of the language. So Mrs. Vivek, analgesia medication was fentanyl. So this is how to write this. You can say, Ms. Vivek was also placed on analgesia, put in bracket fentanyl 1 for 36 hours, which was satisfactory. Oral analgesia has now commenced. 36 hours postoperatively. You might, in fact, you might not even write all the details there. Okay. The incision site. So this is still the fourth paragraph. So talk about pain management there, and then you talk about the this one is Miss Vic incision site was dressed. So this is dressed, it had to be dressed. So the incision, so you see, it's not every time you have to be writing Miss Vivek. You can say her incision site was dressed, and a total of 60 male is it homogeneous? I'm not sure what this is. Fluid discharge from SU drains over 24 hours from tubes was removed. 48 hours for stuff. So this is so clumsy, so you need to be able to make sure you are writing short sentences, short sentences and not too much complex sentences. Otherwise, you model up the grammar and it will not make sense. Okay. So let's say continuation of this. Don't forget that you see now this, I have to bend my head now. Please take the photograph or the scanning on a horizontal, vertically, please, because this is not, there's no how I can reposition this. So even before going through all this, I can say this is definitely more than 180 to 200 words, the content. So need to summarize and write out the key elements. Let me see. Just write the most relevant because I see you are trying to include everything in there, but write the most relevant. And like I said, you don't have to keep repeating Miss Vivek, Mrs. Vivek. Okay. So now the last paragraph, you can just say, Ms. Vivek has now been discharged to rehabilitation center. However, please monitor her BP for 3 days due to adjustments in her hypersensitive. She still she is still on medications. So you can take away all the 5 milligrams, save yourself the word count. Secondly, access rehabilitation therapy. Access access to rehabilitation therapy. Following removal of staples, wound can be exposed. So I see yeah, there's so much to write, but make sure that you are limiting, you're not just writing everything, writing the most relevant. If you have the above, Ms. Wick has been discharged to your rehabilitation center. Please, if you have any question, please do not hesitate. Remember, I said that the last paragraph generally might not be marked if you have already exhausted all the word counts. So make sure that you are writing within the time range. Okay, thank you very much. So for my and I'm going to score this. Honestly, I give you a score of 260 because there's still a lot to be adjusted in there. A 260 score if you want to note it down and make all the necessary correction. If you don't mind, you can rewrite the same letter and send to me or try another letter. Thank you very much. So this is another writing task there. So we note the details. I always like to go straight to the task. So this task, say write a referral letter to Dr. John Dwyer, an ophthalmologist. Okay, requesting him to look into the case. So if you look at that, when it says somebody should look into the case, what does it mean? So that is the purpose of the letter. They want the ophthalmologist to look into the case. So write down that is the purpose of the letter to look. So what other word can you use to look into the case or like to review the case, to review the patient and provide necessary recommendations or so. That's what it means. So what's the so we can see the details there of the patient. All right, so let's see the letter that was written and we see how we can correct this for this candidate. Okay, so I think this is is this, not sure if this is the letter. So, okay. I think this is the one, this Susan Davis now. Diana Jones. All right. So I just want to see the task, writing task 2 there. Using the information, write a letter to Miss Susan Parry, charge nurse at Helping Hand Reference Center. So it is a referral letter. You'll be discharged from your ward. Okay, so we can go to the letters now. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to say normally I should not even correct this because it is not well organized. Like this is an 80 leaf writing. If you're going to be writing, there has to be margin. So this letter has no margin at all. So that is a very, it's not a good one, it's a bad one. So if this letter doesn't have a margin, you need to create a margin at both sides. So you can't be writing from end to end. Like this is elementary. So you can't be writing from end to end. You need to create a margin. If you don't have a writing booklet that has a margin, then you need to draw out the margin yourself. This is how what you practice with. So that's being said, now we have the address, the name, and the address of the recipient. Like I said in the other one, leave a space between the address and the date. Okay, and then leave a space as well before the patient details, and then leave a space before you write the salutation. That's dear Miss Susan. Leave a space. Then you can go ahead. I'm writing to refer Miss Davis to your application center who had undergone a left myatroplasty on you put the date after a fall after a fall from sleeping. So no, there's you don't after a fall after sleeping. That's rhetorical, that's rhetorical. So you have to take after a fall from sleeping and had a fracture of I can't see this well. So you cannot abbreviate. Remember your that said that you should expand. What's the full meaning of this? For continuity of care. So write that in full. So see there the patient detail is there, purpose, the presenting situation, and then the purpose. So this is a good introduction. You just have to correct this after a fall, after sleeping. Okay. And that's that. Now, Miss Davis is a retired librarian who is very active and can. So please, once you rule out something, don't write on top of it. Cancel it out and continue in front. Okay? If you rule out, you're not sure of one answer, do not cross out and write on it like this. Cross it out and continue writing after what you have crossed out. So she's very active and can walk 1 to 2 miles a day. Also, so I'm finding it hard to read what she wrote. Also smokes before but stopped 30 years ago. Okay. Now, some of these details here might not be necessary, depending, we are talking about somebody that had a mature past. So, smoke, it's not most relevant. So, I'm trying to say that you should not waste your word count on what is not relevant. Meanwhile, once you get a case note, like I said in the classes, that you need to be able to divide the case notes into those three. You divide your case notes into three, either not relevant, very, very relevant, and not very relevant. You'll be able to know what exactly you should be putting in your letter. You start with the most relevant. If you still have enough time, you can go and talk about the relevant, but don't include anything that is not relevant. She was admitted on 28/6/2017 after she had fractured. Okay, so this is the real situation. Was admitted, okay, before the following day. So on the following day, she complained of hip and basic pain. I hope that is made. Complain of hip and back pain, restlessness and confusion. Okay, restlessness, confusion, and as hallucination, which might be due to side effects of morphine, which I'm just trying to read this out here. I can't really, it's too tiny. Please, can you make your writing more legible? That's another thing that the assessor will be looking at. Lightheadedness, which almost results in a fall. So if I were you, I can combine these two paragraphs together. So paragraph minimum, from 5 to 7 sentences can make a paragraph. Can combine this to furthermore complain of constipation. So let's see the continuation of this letter. So I've talked to you about time reference, okay? On is it 2/7/2017? She was fit to be discharged and dressing. So is now you can just say today the 2nd of July 2017, she's now fit for discharge and dressing has been changed. So this general conditions table, like I said, you cannot write things like this in OET. So just say if you skip it before, you have to write it after somehow. Therefore, she will benefit from continuity in physical program and manufacturing and monitoring of her medication for quick recovery. She will benefit from continuity in physio. So this physiotherapy, complete the physiotherapy, don't physiotherapy program and monitoring of her medication for quick recovery. Do not hesitate. So if you cancel something out, please make it clear that you really cancel it and write it legibly after. This to me now, this do not looks like you have cancelled it, but it does not make sense if you don't put it. Um, do not hesitate to ask questions. So what are you referring this patient for continuity in physiotherapy program at the rehabilitation center? Okay. So for this letter, there's so much that needs to be done as well, especially the uh, logistic details of it, the punctuations, use of tenses, and all that needs to be corrected. So the score for this letter will be 270. So 270 using the 5 criteria. Like the task completion looks more like the tasks were completed, but there are some irrelevancies in the tasks. And I need you to also, anytime you write a letter, once you finish, do your word count and write the word count on the letter. We know if you have exceeded the word count or not. Okay, thank you very much. That's all. So please, you can rewrite this based on this correction. You can rewrite the letter and resend back just for a quick review about it. So can you use this correction to effect your other letters as well? Going forward, you might not be able to take all the letters for correction. So, but you can use this simple correction that I've just made for the two letters and effect it in any other letter that you write. I hope that is helpful.